Insiders Pierre LeBrun and Darren Dreger, our senior hockey reporter Frank Cervalli. Darren, first up, we know the World Junior Championship is set for the bubble in Edmonton this Christmas, but how sensitive are the IIHF and Hockey Canada to the recent COVID numbers?
Well, I would say very sensitive, Gino. I mean, based on the COVID numbers in Alberta, in fact, across Canada, across North America and Europe, there is reason for some level of concern. And I know that Hockey Canada, the IIHF, are in constant communication with varying levels of government and health authorities. The plan at the moment, of course, is to forge forward. It is all systems go. And the best case scenario would be for all the participating countries to arrive in Edmonton via charter on December 13th. But again, amid the numbers, 406, a record day on Wednesday in Alberta, Hockey Canada is paying close attention.
Well, Dregs, and there will be some good news actually on Thursday that the federal government is considering changing out the 14-day quarantine requirement for international arrivals in exchange for producing one negative COVID test at the airport. That would provide Hockey Canada and the tournament organizers with just a shade more flexibility as they try putting on that tournament. And there's no question that the National Hockey League is keeping a close eye on that situation as well. That might open up the NHL to begin playing games again with American teams and Canadian teams. We heard lots of talk about an all-Canada division to start next season. Changing that requirement would certainly give the NHL some leeway. At least that's what the league hopes.
The NHL GMs are going to meet virtually on Friday. Darren, the league is still aiming for a January start to the 2021 season. So what's the most pressing matter for the GMs right now?
Well, developmental leagues, what is happening? What can all NHL clubs, their general managers do with their developmental plans and specifically their players? Now, everything about the start of the 2020-21 season, guys, of course, is tied to the economics, and that's more of an ownership issue. So general managers are going to ask a ton of questions on Friday, but what happens if the American Hockey League doesn't go? What happens if the restrictions in Major, Junior are too extreme, or some of the other feeder systems? The problem is the National Hockey League high-level execs aren't going to be able to provide the answers to the general managers on Friday that these GMs are hoping for.
And while we await the joint return to play committee to finally meet, the one that involves players and senior staff from both NHL and NHLPA, it should be noted that senior leadership from the league and the NHLPA did have another chat on Thursday. So there has been constant dialogue between Gary Bettman and Don Fear, Bill Daly, Matthew Schneider about next season. It's just that the joint committee itself, with about 10 players on it, hasn't met quite yet. But I will tell you this, that there seems to be a bigger appetite from owners and GMs and the players at large, not just on the committee, to have a voice on what next season looks like. And I think it's because there's so much at stake with the ability or inability to make money depending on whether or not there's fans in the building. One thing, a theme that keeps coming back, is that whatever the season looks like to begin with, let's say 4 regional divisions, it's not what it's probably going to end like by the end of the playoffs. And that's something that keeps coming back in my conversations.
One of the big conversations that's been going on in recent weeks is a cost-benefit analysis for the NHL as it relates to next season. And it came out that one of the discussions that the NHL and NHLPA had while they were negotiating this new collective bargaining agreement was modeling a worst-case scenario for what the revenue projection is for next season if they play all of next season, even a shortened year without fans. That number is $1.8 billion. So when you're doing that cost-benefit analysis and you're paying out the players $2.7 billion or so in salary, well, you can see why that may or may not be problematic for the NHL moving forward. And in addition to that, when you look at the players and their financial uncertainty that they've been facing, they'll at least get a little bit of a benefit to stem that. They will be receiving 8.1% of their salary in a paycheck due by Halloween, October 31st. That should help tide them over to whenever next season begins. It'll be their first pay since April.
Speaking of salaries, Pierre, the Stars rewarding Rick Bowness for a nice run to the Cup final?
Yeah, Rick Bowness and the Dallas Stars putting the final touches on a new multi-year deal, a head coaching contract. He was coaching under his old associate contract last year when he replaced Jim Montgomery. Well earned, of course, for Rick Bowness, and probably the last contract he's going to sign at his age, and a nice way to go out on a head coaching salary. I'm told it's going to be about middle of the pack in terms of where it ranks him among the 31 coaches, well earned.
And word that should come is no surprise to anyone. The NHL has now officially postponed the 2021 All-Star Game that was scheduled for Florida and the Winter Classic that was set for Minneapolis.